We're going to give just a quick minute to allow a few others to join, and then we will get started. Okay, thank you again, everyone, for joining. Today, my name is Ron with WorkMax by Foundation, and my contact information is listed here. So if there are any questions, or if you guys do want to schedule some time afterwards, if you want to take a deeper dive and have a more kind of one-on-one demo, please feel free to reach out. Would love to have those conversations with you and see how we can help you guys to really just kind of streamline and automate those processes as it relates to employee time tracking and field data collection. Today, our webinar, our topic is eliminating time theft with technology. This is a real issue, a real challenge in today's world, especially in the construction industry. Whether you're facing that or you have in the past, or you know other companies and businesses that are, what we're doing here at WorkMax is really helping to not just streamline and automate processes, but also improve accuracy with the data. So the things that we're going to touch on today as it relates to eliminating time theft is the benefits and the value of real-time time tracking, and what does that look like. There are some specific features and functions to help do that as well. Things like GPS capabilities, facial recognition, eliminating any buddy punching, things like that, and also just stopping unauthorized overtime. There are some settings that you can put in place where it will limit that unauthorized overtime, which obviously is a huge impact to your bottom line. Okay. So as we go through these bullet points and we kind of go through what that looks like within WorkMax, if you do have questions, in GoToWebinar here, you do have, there's the questions box that you can just type those in, and time permitting, we should be able to answer some of those at the end. So having said that, let's go ahead and jump in. So let me go ahead and jump out of here and get into WorkMax. Let me log in. Okay, so WorkMax is a cloud platform for field data collection. We are a construction focused platform. We come from construction as a company ourselves. We started 20 plus years ago in construction. Our original owners actually were general contractors. So we definitely understand who our target audience is and what that demographic is. And so we've built a solution tailored to that with specific features, functions, workflows, and settings to help mitigate some of those issues. As it relates to employee time theft, I'm going to go through and show you an example of what that would look like as far as reporting from the field through our mobile app, and then seeing that back here in what we call this control center. So for those in the office, this is where you're able to log in online and view all of that data. Okay. Now this is web-based, so you can access this from anywhere at any time. The mobile app, a couple of things there. One, the mobile app works offline, right? So if they're ever in an area where there's no signal, that's not a problem. They can still use the app. It's going to store the data on the device, and then when they get a signal, it can sync and update back to the office. And the mobile app is available in Spanish as well. That's a setting that you can turn on, which is employee specific. If you do have employees that are Spanish speaking, that's going to help them just know where to go, what to do, and things like that. Again, just making it easier for those guys in the field. So as I pull up my phone, just right here on my desk, let's go through an example of what that would look like from the field. Okay, so we open up the WorkMax app. It's a simple pin pad. Okay, each employee is assigned a pin. I'm going to put the pin number in for an individual employee. All right, let's say we've got George here who's going to clock in. Okay, George goes to clock in. Now, right away, we get our confirmation page. Okay, so here's where the camera turns on, because we can do that facial recognition to help eliminate any buddy punching, ghost punching, okay, things like that. Right here, this is where they select the job or the project, where are they working, and the task or code. What are they doing? Go ahead and confirm. Now that's complete. Sends the data back to the office. So just a couple simple steps. They put their PIN number in, they select the job and the code, and then just confirm. Okay. Now back here in this control center, if we come over here to the time section, let's say we're back in the office, right? So we come here to the time section. We're looking at today's date. Go to today. Right, and there we go. There's George. He's just clocked into this job. Here's what he's doing, date, time. So you see that information in real time, and it's automated that it's sent back to the office. So especially for those companies that are coming from paper, right, where everything's done manual on paper, you're then having to wait for those guys to send that back into the office, text that in, do whatever, or you're having to get after the guys, hey, we need your time cards. This is streamlined and automated and in real time. It's literally just a couple of simple steps there for them to put their PIN number in, select the job and code. Okay. Now with this data, now that we have this time record in the system, over here on the left-hand side, these tags, these are alerts about the details of those records. Okay. Anything that's red is an alert that's telling you that there's a problem. All right. It's something that doesn't match up. Okay, so for example, GPS, okay? So if I see that that's red, that means that he's clocked in, but he's not at the job site. So if I select that record, now I can scroll down, look at those details. Okay, here's the GPS map, right? There's the job site. Okay, there's the geofence around that job site. But all the way down here, okay, there's George clocked in 6.5 miles away, right? So just getting that visibility in the field, making sure guys are actually on site and, not at Starbucks getting their morning coffee, right? Or, at home trying to clock in, okay? So again, just validating and verifying that data, okay? Now the other thing here is this red face capture. Okay, we took a picture when we clocked in, right? But if I see that this is red, that's telling me that whoever's clocked in does not match the picture for George. All right, so again, if I scroll back down and look at the details, okay, so there's George, all right? That's the George we know, but this is the guy who's clocked in, all right? Now, what WorkMax is doing, we actually developed a patented technology where this is comparing these images, and then it will alert you if it's not a match, okay? So you don't have to click into each record to then look at the image to see if it's the right guy. The system's gonna do that for you and then flag it, all right? Now, and this isn't required. You can turn that off if it's not needed, but there's also no added cost for that. We're just, trying to help validate and verify the data, right? So again, coming back to our topic, how do we eliminate that time theft? Well, this is how we validate, we verify. So as a perfect example, okay, now let's say, now I can't wake up late one day, hurry and text my buddy and be like, hey, can you clock in for me? Well, if we're going to take a picture, then no, right? Because it's going to get flagged in the system just like that. Okay, so again, just validating and verifying that data and information, okay, as it's submitted from the field. And then again, the big value here too is being able to see that data, that information in real time, right? Now, if we continue here with this example of George, okay, now if he's done for the day, he's just going to go back to the app and clock out. If you do have employees or guys where they do move throughout the day, maybe they do work on multiple jobs or they're working on multiple tasks, okay, what that would look like, he would just come back to the mobile app, put his PIN number back in. Okay, now right away, it's going to give his current status. All right, it's showing that he's clocked into this job. All right, here's what he's doing and how long has he been there. If he's done with this one and he's just moving on to the next, he just goes to clock in again. Okay, but now we're going to change locations. Now let's say he's at this job site. Okay, and over there he's doing something else. All right, go ahead and confirm. That sends it back to the office. So if we come back here, we're just going to refresh this page. All right, now we have a new record for George. Okay, now he's at this job site doing something else. The system is going to automatically clock him out of the previous as soon as he moves on to the next thing. So they can just move throughout their day, clock into the next, clock into the next, clock into the next. At the end of the day, yes, he will clock out, but we then will have captured and broken down each record individually. Okay, so getting better accuracy with the data. Now I know exactly how long it takes my guys to do X, Y, and Z. Instead of them just at the end of the day saying, hey, I worked my 8 hours, I worked my 10 hours, right? But it's like, okay, was it 8 hours or was it 7 hours and 47 minutes, right? Now, there was a study here where this was done by the APA, so the American Payroll Association. And what they found was that companies where time is reported manually, that there is almost 50 minutes, 49 minutes to be exact, is 49 minutes of time lost per day per employee. Now, an example of that would be, guys who show up late, who take a long lunch, leave early, but you then pay them for 8 hours or a full day, right? So, that adds up quick, really, really quick, right? Even 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, right? So this here, again, when you can get this streamlined automated process of data collection, not only are you getting that visibility, but you're impacting your bottom line as well, because you're paying your guys for time actually worked. Okay. Now, the other bullet point that was is on part of our presentation today or our webinar is, we're talking about eliminating time theft through real time, where you can get better accuracy, GPS and facial recognition, these features here that I talked about, but also putting in place settings and rules to help eliminate any unauthorized overtime. Within WorkMax, there are settings that we can come in here and establish. Some of those settings can be either just alerts, where I can come in here and put a rule that says, alert me if hours exceed X amount within a shift, right? Maybe it's 10 hours, right? Or maybe 12 or whatever, right? So here, if they've clocked in and they've got reported more hours than what they're allotted, that's going to display in red back here in this time editor. So that's an alert that you can get if there is an issue there. But also we can put in rules, okay? So WorkMax allows you to have unlimited custom rules, shift rules, overtime rules, and you can apply these different rules to different jobs, different groups, different employees. And for an example, for overtime, maybe as a default for our company, our rule is anything over 40, right? But maybe we have one group where for them it's anything over 8 in a day, okay? And weekends, right? And when does double time start? So we put these rules in place so that way all of that is being processed for you, and it's not being left to the employees in the field to determine what is regular time, what is overtime, what is double time. We will establish that here and let that process for you. On the shift rules, okay, maybe we're going to come in here and say, hey, our shift is from 7 to 4, from 6 to 3, whatever your shift is, but we can enforce what we call a float time. So I'm putting in a 5-minute float. So what this says is if they've clocked in at 6:55, right, it's going to roll up and it'll count towards their shift. But if they show up to the office early and it's like 6:30 and they're trying to clock in to get some of that extra time on the clock, it won't count until that float, which is 6:55. Right. So again, because you're able to implement technology and then have these settings and these rules in place, you're able to mitigate and that unauthorized overtime. I had a company in the Dallas Fort Worth area where they came from paper. They were doing everything manually. They were about 250 or so employees doing everything manual on paper. They implemented WorkMax and rolled this out to their company. And their first year on WorkMax, the numbers that they gave us, what they told us was the cost savings that they saw within that first year was just over $1 million. And the majority of that was eliminating unauthorized overtime. So that was a huge impact to their company, to their bottom line, by implementing technology to help streamline and automate these processes, but also get better accuracy with the data. Okay, so coming full circle, touching on our topic today, how do we eliminate time theft with technology? In WorkMax, we do that using our mobile app to have the employees clock in and out in real time, where you're able to see that back in the office. That's automated. You're able to get those validating points like GPS, facial recognition, and also by setting up those rules, those settings in place, that's going to help you to just eliminate any unauthorized overtime. Okay. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just open it up. Any questions that you guys have, please feel free just to jump in. We've got some time here left, and there's a couple of questions here that I can answer for you guys. So there should be that questions box that you can add in or type a question in. Okay, here's a question. So it looks like, how are we able to view previous or past data for like GPS? So good question here. On the right-hand side, I've got this date range. So if I come here, there's actually some filters that you can use to do that. If I just expand my date range real quick, right? So now you can see here, I've got pages and pages of different employees and different jobs, different codes. This is where you can use the filters right here. And this makes it easy to kind of just drill down and manage the data. I could filter that out by employee. I could filter that by project or location, but you can also filter by those tags. Okay, so yeah, I need to see, are there any failed facial recognition, right? Any buddy punching going on? Okay, and yeah, it looks like George has a problem. Okay, so this is just an easy way when you've got multiple guys that are clocking in and out, and this little view right here is going to fill up pretty quick. Yes, just use the filters, kind of drill down any GPS discrepancies, right? Who's clocking in and out outside of the job site? So that's just an easy filter to do that. Okay, perfect. Let's see. Does this connect and integrate with my accounting system? It does. Yeah. So WorkMax, we do integrate with your accounting, with your payroll, with your ERP. We actually integrate and connect with over 100 different accounting systems. And how we do that is with our integration tool called ConnectMax. And that's this piece here. So here, what we do, we're actually able to make a direct connection to the database for your accounting system, which then allows us to automatically import all of your jobs, all of your codes, all of your employee data, right? So this just runs in the background. There's no double entry. You don't have to download anything. So then we use WorkMax to collect the data. And when you're ready, at the end of the week or at the end of the pay period, we need to send that data back Then we use the same tool, but now to export the data. Okay. All the records, they're already in the system, all right? So there's no manual entry or anything like that. We're just coming in here, putting in the date range and export, okay? So this now is gonna download a formatted CSV file or an Excel file with all of those records, and then we just take that file and upload that straight back into your accounting system. Okay. One thing with this too is that when we import the data, the jobs and the codes and stuff like that, if there's a physical address with that project, it will auto-generate that GPS or that geofence for you. But even if there's not a physical address for that project, you can still come in here. Like here's this project here. You can see there's an address. So WorkMax will auto create and generate that geofence. But you can too, if needed, you can just drop a pin right there on the map and then create that if you need to. Another question, our workers don't know the cost codes. These are assigned by the superintendent for all workers on the job that day. We'd like to use the system to only bookmark start and end times, but the super needs to do that after that. Sure, yeah, that's not a problem. So if they don't need, or if you don't need or want them to select a cost code or a task, that's fine. We can just simply turn that off. So yes, they would just have a start and end time, but then we can come in after the fact and allocate or break that down. So the super, the manager, whoever, they can assign and break that out after the fact. That's not a problem. Another question from Greg. Can we import from our accounting software and then export a different third-party PR system? Sure. Yeah, so typically our integration is with what we call the system of record, which generally is your accounting software because that's where all your employees, that's where all your jobs, your codes, your job costing is done. When you export the data, you can create multiple export templates or multiple export files, but then customize with what fields of information, what data do I need to send, right? So if I come here to this export field, here's where I can specify what information, here I've got basic details selected. The employee name, the job, the code, their total time. If needed, there's all of this additional information. Do I need the job classification? Do I need the department, the union, the sign off, the approval, whatever, right? So yes, you can create multiple export files. You can then customize those and then export them out as a CSV or as an Excel file to then send out to any other third-party system. So on the payroll side, like we typically see that a lot with like ADP, Paylocity, payroll for construction, paychecks, things like that. So yes, that's a pretty common scenario that we see. Okay, one more question on the GPS. Can you control or adjust the radius? Yes. So here, if I select that record and I'm looking at the map, the size of that geofence, right? Yes, so that is controlled. You can either have a default, just as company wide, on average, it's typically like a quarter mile, what we do, but you can go in by project and then manually adjust that. So maybe we have one project where we need to tighten that up a little bit. Or we have this other job where we need to make that a little bit bigger, right? That's totally fine. So yes, you do have flexibility in being able to control the size and radius of the geofence. Okay, here's a question from Jane. Can the time recording system be used after the fact? Some employees would need to record their time later instead of real time. Sure, yes, that is an option in WorkMax. We do have a workflow which is called a digital timesheet. So instead of clocking in, clocking out in real time, they can, at the end of the day or even at the end of the week, just submit a digital timesheet. So yes, after the fact, hey, I worked my 8 hours, right? And here it is. Okay, so that's an option. The difference there is you by doing that after the fact, using that digital timesheet, you lose some of the features and functions like the GPS and facial recognition, right? Because it's not in real time, it's just done whenever, then those validating points and features and functions are not there. So just some of the differences there. Now, I mean, that's obviously can be different for each company, right? And you can even do a combination of those where maybe you do have some guys where they're going to do this individually, clock in, clock out, but maybe we have others where it is going to be just after the fact, a digital timesheet. Yes, that is an option. Is there a grid to see all of the time for any one worker for the entire week, including multiple jobs, cost codes? Yeah, so a couple of ways to view that. When I'm logged in here to this control center, I can either filter that out here and just look at an entire week, and then also drill down by employee, by project, and just view that here, right? So I'm gonna grab one of these guys. Let's grab one who has more time. Right? So it's going to show his total hours and all of that just right here for that whatever date range that I picked. But you can also run reports right here in the system. So at any time, you can generate employee time cards, labor reports, project reports, payroll reports, and all of these have multiple filters. You can do that by date, by project, by employee, and then just generate a report, hand those out, print them off, download them, email them, do whatever. So there's a few different ways of how to view an entire week or period for an employee or project, either using the filters or running reports. Okay. Okay, now let's see, a couple of questions. Oh, Jane, you're just following up. Aware of the pitfalls of entering time after the fact. Some companies need to take a big leap from paper to digital timesheet. Yes, yep, for sure. And that's the thing too. I mean, obviously there's going to be a learning curve, right? I mean, especially when you're coming from paper to a digital solution like this. And one thing here, which that brings up a great point, is getting that field adoption, right? Making sure that this is easy and simple enough for those guys in the field to be able to use and do. I mean, a system is only as good as it's used, right? And so to that end, in WorkMax, we've built and we put in some tools to help with that. So if I switch back over here to the mobile app, if we go back in, right up here on the top right-hand corner, so when they install the app, right here, they can actually click and then go to the training center. So this is where we have video tutorials, okay? So, hey, you're an individual, you're gonna be clocking in. Great, just click right there, watch the video, we're gonna show you how to do it, okay? So this is super helpful for those guys in the field just to get familiar with the system. Hey, you're gonna be doing a timesheet, right? Instead of the clock in, you're doing a timesheet, perfect. Click right there and watch the video, okay? So just a helpful resource for those guys in the field when we roll that out for training purposes. A question from Laura: is there a way for the employee to send us a note about a shift work if they missed a punch in or punch out? Yes, yeah, great question. So if we continue here with this example of George, let's go back here. Let's go ahead and put PIN number back in. There's an option or a setting that you turn on where when they clock in or when they clock out, yes, they can add a note right here with that record. Okay, so maybe let's say that he forgot to clock out when he left, and now he's at home, right? And he's like, oh shoot, I forgot to clock out. Let me just go ahead and I'll clock out still, but I'm going to add a note. Okay, forgot to clock out 30 minutes ago. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to add that note. And I also turned this setting on where when they clock out, it's going to require them to sign off on their time. Okay, it's going to show their total hours right here, where they were, what they did, and then he just uses his finger and signs it. Go ahead and confirm. That sends it back to the office. So when we refresh the page, now I can see that he's clocked out. I also get that confirmation that he signed off and approved that record, but I can see that there's a tag, there's a note with this record. So if I select that and then look down here under the notes, okay, he forgot to clock out 30 minutes ago. All right, great. Well, thanks for letting me know. Let me go ahead and select that record, click edit, and now I can change the date, the time, the job, the code, anything, just all right there. Okay. And again, because that's a tag, right, that's an alert, when I'm looking at multiple records, okay, on a daily basis, maybe at the end of the day, you know, I've got all these records here. I'm gonna come in here, let me just do a quick search. Are there any records that have a note that I need to check out? Okay, yep, here's that one from George just today. Yep, he forgot to clock out. All right, now I can go in and make that correction. Okay. All right, let's clear out the filter. Okay. Any other or last minute questions, Gregory? You got another one. Can there be any kind of a sign off by an employee that they were not injured during the day and did not witness anyone else get injured? Great question. Yes. So WorkMax is it's actually a platform, and there's multiple modules within the platform. Time is just one of those. Okay, time tracking. Another module or another piece to the WorkMax system is digital forms. So this is where you can come in here and you can create unlimited custom forms, okay? This is where if you need to get more detail, more information other than just their time that's being reported, you know, things like daily reports, change orders, safety forms, toolbox talks, right? Whatever, okay? Now we even have a library of all of these existing forms that you could have access to, okay? So you can either use these existing ones or you could build your own. But here's a perfect example to what you were asking, Gregory. Yeah, so here when we build this form, employee clockout, when we build these forms in this control center, they become available on the app. But there are also settings that you can turn on where it will require a form when they clock in or when they clock out. So if I turn on this employee clockout form, I can require that for all employees when they clock out at the end of the day, and they have to answer these questions. Did you take your breaks? Were you injured on the job, right? And there's logic behind these forms. So depending on how they respond, it might require more detail. Were you injured? Yes. Okay, well now you need to fill out an injury report, right? So that you can tie in sub forms to these forms, all right? But yeah, that's just a great way to get, again, all that additional information or detail from the field when you need it by requiring forms when they clock in, when they clock out. And when those forms get submitted from the field, two things happen. One, you can also get an automated email copy of that form once it's completed, and you can auto route those. So, you know, when this gets submitted, I need a copy of that automatically sent to their supervisor, right? If an injury report gets filled out, okay, that needs to go to our safety person, right? But you'll also then, second, you're gonna get a copy of all of those forms right here under this completed section, okay? Now, this is kind of like your digital archive, okay, that you can always go back and search previous days, weeks, months, okay? If there's ever any questions on a job, on an employee, you know, we can go back to that project on that date, pull up that form, right? Here's all their information, there's their pictures, here's their injury report, here's their signature, okay? So yes, all of that is documented and stored within WorkMax. But these forms, these are all fully customizable. You can build your own. So if you have an existing form where we want to use that as a model or as a template and just recreate that in WorkMax, you can do that. You could take these existing forms, but then customize them. You know, put your logo up here. You can change the questions or the verbiage or whatever and make them your own. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate the time. We've run over just a little bit on our time here today, but I appreciate the questions. Hopefully this was beneficial and helpful to you. As we wrap up here, let me just pull my contact information back up. So if you guys do have any questions, or if you would like to have a further conversation, please feel free to reach out. This will be available online. It will send out as well, and then we can also schedule some time with you guys to go through and answer any more questions, or see how WorkMax can also help you guys to eliminate the time theft using technology. So thank you again. I appreciate the time. Hope you guys all have a great day.